A forest plan I like to think of as being similar to the master plan that you might find for a local community. If your city has a plan that describes what you want the city to look like into the future, it lays out the direction, the long-term goals that we want to see for this forest, not just for now, but for the next generation.
So we're on the banks of the Nantahala River in the Nantahala Pisgah National Forest. It draws over 200,000 paddlers a year.
If you were just out here trail riding every day the same trails, it might get boring. But when you're out here working on trails, it gives you another appreciation about what there is to do.
In our business, we use yellow poplar. When we harvest that land, it'll be harvested in a way that's, protects these other uses like wildlife and water. And so you don't harvest every acre, you don't harvest every tree on these lands.
We have 4,000 miles of trout stream in western North Carolina, and most of them are on Forest Service land. To go out and fish and hunt on these public lands is just an opportunity that people all over the world relish.
So the Nantahala and Pisgah are two forests that combined cover 1.1 million acres. We are one of the most visited national forests in the country, and there is a diversity of ecosystems here. We need to hear from the public, and we need to hear from all voices. We've also faced new challenges, increased insects and disease. When we have these changing conditions, both ecologically and then also socially, from increased folks coming to visit our national forests, new recreation trends, greater development in and around the national forest lands, all of those things affect the way we plan to manage for the future. Collaboration is not easy, but the rewards are great for folks to bring their perspective, to stand in someone else's shoes for a moment. The Forest Service staff has decreased over time. Our budgets are also decreasing, and we depend on working with others to accomplish our core mission. And so that means that we work with volunteers.
Everyone ready?
Time to get your tools, get your gear. Volunteers make a huge difference. That's why I started Southern Appalachian Wilderness Steward. Since we started 7 years ago, we've generated over 100,000 hours of service on public lands. This year, we'll be employing 42 young people who are getting connected to their public lands in a real and tangible way. We do use hand tools throughout our program. Nothing mechanized, nothing motorized.
This could potentially be an area that you would want to do some sort of drain to pull that water off of the trail.
The wilderness is one of the multiple uses that you find on the Forest Service, and during the revision process, we're required to take a look to see if we need to be considering additional areas in the wilderness system.
Wilderness designation is a pretty incredible step that we took as a country with the passage of the Wilderness Act in 1964. And it's a value that recognizes that man needs to check our ego at the door a little bit, that we don't always have all of the answers for what's right for natural systems.
Now, the thing about a timber sale program on the National Forest, it's one of the only tools that you have where you can manipulate the vegetation to improve things like wildlife habitat. We manufacture in this plant here at Old Fort about 10,500 4x8 panels a day. We have to reach out today over 200 miles to supply this mill. If we had a reasonable timber sale program here on this national forest, maybe we wouldn't have to buy 5 million feet from Kentucky and haul it 225 miles. If we could buy that 5 million feet closer in, it would save a lot of transportation costs. It's better for the environment because you're burning less diesel fuel.
When you're fly fishing, you're trying to emulate the food that the trout eat, which means the bugs in the stream. But there's also about 3,000 flies in my vest here, so hopefully I can usually simulate what they're eating. The hunting and angling community has organized very well, and our message is always the same: protect, enhance wildlife habitats, and we'll help. Just the impact of trout fishing economically is over $200 million a year. In order to protect wildlife resources, you have to protect the air, you have to protect the water, you have to protect agencies such as EPA that's under extreme duress now.
This is Boomer. He's a 12-year-old walking horse. I use these loppers while I'm on horseback to take out smaller limbs, so I don't even have to get off my horse to do it. I belong to a national organization, about 15,000 members, called the Backcountry Horsemen of America. There's about 300 members in North Carolina. We do work days once a month. I know that if a person doesn't understand and appreciate something, they can't love it. And if we don't get everyone to love these national forest lands, we're never going to be able to preserve them.
I do river conservation and access work, and I represent whitewater paddlers in all kinds of public processes. Paddling drives passion. People have connections to the outdoors through recreation that are almost as strong as connections they have to family and friends and their pets. I mean, we've helped buy access areas so that rivers become continuous water trails that connect the national forest to the communities. So the Forest Service is being very light on their feet with learning from other forests, and we help with that. You know, we help tell stories about what's working and what isn't.
It's an honor and a responsibility, and I think that's one thing that unites all of us at the collaborative table, is that everybody wants to do the right thing, not just for what makes sense in 2017, but for what makes sense for our kids and the future generations.